play culture that really sort of got my attention as well as the traffic.
All right, thank you, Jack.
I guess we'll go down the line. So I got involved in this, I guess, just because it's, in part, it's what I do for a living. I study transportation and land use. I'm a professor of urban planning, and I definitely agree that traffic in LA is terrible. And I also agree that the planning system in Los Angeles is pretty broken. If you are looking for someone to stand up and say, that the way the city of LA does land use planning is great, I'm going to say myself. But at the same time, we also have a huge shortage of housing of all sorts. LA's vacancy rate is extraordinarily low, which explains why its housing costs are extraordinarily high. And I was troubled by the fact that Measure S, while seeming to be born of a real problem, does not seem to offer a real solution. And I think that if you look at what it's trying to do, many of the problems that it identifies, it won't help and may even make worse. A short answer for why I got involved.
Thank you. And by the way, I have not in my mind a set time for when this ends, so we're going to let us say what we think we need to say, and then wrap up. But we'll get you out of here in time for the Oscars, I promise. Mark, I get you next.
Thanks, and thanks to all of you for coming out on a Sunday, and to the sponsors for getting neighborhood councils involved on these issues and sustainability more broadly. And I've worked on and taught issues of sustainability and food justice and planning and housing for a number of years. And in the last couple, I became really aware, as Mike said, that having enough housing in a city is kind of preconditioned to having a Los Angeles that is diverse, that is welcoming to newcomers, that can evolve in a sustainable direction. And we're kind of been squeezing ourselves and killing ourselves by having such a huge shortage. And it cascades down in a number of ways to harm real people who are living here. We have, obviously, as you all know, growing homelessness. We have the majority of the population paying too much in rent, according to federal standards. We have a large number of low-income residents who are living in overcrowded and potentially dangerous conditions, right? And we have young people being essentially forced to either stay in their parents' home and put off actually becoming independent in life, or else move out of Los Angeles. So we have these really tremendously negative impacts of not having built enough housing in the past several decades. It's coming home to roost. And now we have before us a measure that would freeze on some development and a permanent ban on some development. And I like to use the analogy that if we had a famine going on in the state, right, we wouldn't go out and say, hey farmers, don't plant anything new for the next 2 years, while we figure it out. We have this crisis, and we can't shut down housing production while we figure out how to do better planning, while we figure out how to better align our new transit and our housing, all these good things that will lead to a more sustainable city. So, and one final thing is that I can't ignore the national political, the national political changes and the kind of climate we're in. And to me, the opposite of the growing kind of, nationalism and protectionism and fear of newcomers and different people, to me, the opposite of that is an open city, right? The state that gives refuge to all, that makes space for all, and it welcomes everyone. And again, I don't want us to mistakenly jump on this measure like the British did with Brexit, or people here did for a certain candidate. I really feel like this is our chance to say we are a diverse city that doesn't fear the future, and we can embrace that and make it work better than it has in the past.
I didn't know we were doing our opening arguments.
No, I'm sorry, Miki.
I'm ready. But I thought it was more personal.
It can be whatever you like it to
That
be.
is my personal
beliefs.
personal beliefs.
But here's what but not much about you personally. I grew up all over the place. My family moved. And some of the places I lived, people lived in mud huts. That was the housing. But they weren't homeless. They weren't homeless. They lived in mud huts. Some of the places I lived in East LA, I've lived all around, and housing has always been, we were always looking for an apartment, we were always looking for something. And I came to LA as a student, more central LA, but I lived around the communities. And I was always looking for a place that I could afford, and for a long time, LA distinguished itself as a place people could afford. People like me, I was an art student, you know, a little bit counterculture, a lot of counterculture, and so on. And this rush to gentrification, this rush to wealth has troubled me for a long time. I got involved in HIV because all my friends were dying back when, you know, diagnosis one day, 2 weeks later they were dead. But here's how it used to go, and it still does to some extent. Someone got a diagnosis, 2 or 3 days later, the landlord found out and threw them out. Housing has always been very key. Matter of fact, one of the oldest organizations in the country for people with HIV is called Housing Works. It's in New York. And I have done tremendous amounts of advocacy for housing. I'm very much a neighborhood grassroots person. I was very key in saving Lowry Center, which is now a big community kind of center. I struggled for many years with different folks in the neighborhood. We saved bandy camps. I've done lots of preservation work and lots of HIV work. And the particular organization I work with has a majority of minority clients, vast majority, and a majority of clients with very little money, because it's always been everyone is taken from the first day that we open their doors. Everyone, regardless of ability to pay. And so that has always been. When I had my own project, AIDS project, for a number of years, and what did we do? We went to people's homes and who were homebound and bedbound. This was the days when people were terribly ill. And we did their laundry and we cleaned their houses. So it's a theme that runs through my life. Tremendous homelessness problems, and I've lived near that and in that, and I've watched it from when LA we had so few people who were homeless that they really were largely just on Skid Row, and people, we actually knew them. There was the guy on 3rd Street in front of the gas station who always pretended to play baseball. Everybody knew him. That was how few people we had at one time, and now of course we're overcome with it. And the big change is housing for wealthy people, wealthy housing. The wealthy have no housing crisis, to my knowledge. And for me, that's very disturbing. Clients, one of the biggest problems we have is finding stable housing for our clients. We spend, God knows how many hours every day on the phones in the clinics trying to find stable housing. It's just a nightmare, and it didn't used to be such a big problem. We're going on our 30-year anniversary, and it didn't used to be that kind of a problem. We don't have this big a problem with a housing crisis in Africa, where we have hundreds of thousands of patients. It's worse here. And it's worse here because the wealthy are living, and that's a problem. And I've done lots and lots of community work of all kinds. And to me, this is just a natural thing to do. You know, it comes organically from all of the crisis and problems dealing with constantly in homelessness. And I worked a lot in Hollywood over the years. It used to be a cheap place to get an office, and cheap, you know, it was very central and right you get the bus. And I lived in first LaSalle Park and Highland Park for 35 years. And I've been in Highland Park for 20 years and horrible. I mean, the whole gentrification, where I'm seeing people who used to live in the neighborhood living on the side of the freeway, and coming into the neighborhood to friends and neighbors' houses to shower and have a meal, and going back to live in tents. It's heartbreaking. It's truly heartbreaking. And I don't know about everyone else, but I didn't have enough money to move somewhere else. I didn't even think about it. I moved to Highland Park because I could afford Highland Park, like a lot of the folks around me 20 years ago, 30 years ago. And now my neighbors have all their kids living at home with them, my neighbors my age and older, and they're despairing of it because it's hard on them and it's hard on their kids. And I had this conversation with my neighbors, and they're heartbroken because the tradition in these neighborhoods was you grew up and you bought a house down the block from your family, 2 blocks away, very strong family neighborhoods, very close knit. And now the kids can't, and it's heartbreaking. And I just find the situation heartbreaking. I find the pay-to-play culture has fueled it beyond belief. And I was one of the people who very much wanted to do this from the beginning. And I just think we must do something, and we must start somewhere.
Thank you. What's so interesting to me is, as of course we've all probably been remarking over the past year or so, I think we, for the most part, probably all agree on the problems, and as Mike was saying, we don't agree on the solutions, because I would imagine that everybody in this room would feel very similarly to a lot of what Miki said. Go ahead, Jack. I want to go through the summary, but take a moment.
I think everybody agrees that we sort of have a housing crisis here. One of the things that we don't realize is that the current laws of the city of Los Angeles basically are economically prohibited to build new housing if you're going to be 10 or more units. The citizens of Los Angeles passed Measure JJJ in November. What JJJ says is that if you're going to build units, buildings with 10 or more units, and you're asking for a zone change, and I'll use zone change for height or variances in general plans, but if you're asking for a zone change, you have to do 2 things. One, you have to have affordable housing. You know, call it 25%, give or take. And the second thing is you have to pay prevailing wages. What is the impact of that? Well, the impact of that is devastating from an economic point of view. If you go out there and say that to use the prevailing wage, project labor agreements are going to increase the project cost by 46%. That number I got from Beacon Economics, the guys who wrote the plan or wrote the analysis why S was so bad. It's going to be Armageddon and all that stuff. But the same people that that's their number. The other thing is that you decrease potential rent roll by about 15%. If you do that, you're going to knock down the rate of return by about 40%. And from an investor's point of view, and that's sort of, I come from that background, you're not going to be able to get bank loans to build any of these things. You're not going to be able to get any financing to do this. You're not going to be able to get any institutional financing. It's basically going to put a screeching halt to any residential development in the city of Los Angeles that requires a zone change. And that probably means 10 or more units. So where we are right now is we have a real problem. Because JJJ really stinks. And if you think you're going to get around it, good luck. The city council can go out there and make waivers, but that's only on the affordable side. On the labor side, they don't have that flexibility. So if costs go up 40%, you're going to have to increase your rents 40%, or you don't have any rates of return. So
okay, so I'm not quite sure how it connects yet, but let's hold off. I think that's a whole, in my mind, that's a whole different conversation. I know they're very connected. So let's go through the Measure S, and then if we can circle back at some point and make the connections to Measure S, would that work?
Sure.
Okay, thank you. So, okay, you need my reading glasses in public for the first time. This is the first one, I'll be honest, but I'm going to try to do a summary of this measure, just so we all kind of know where we're starting from, because a lot of the complication with this, as we all know, is that everybody is arguing, using housing and the environment on their side, so it gets complicated. Okay, the moratorium piece. This 2-year moratorium on certain kinds of development. And I'll just read directly from the measure. No project that seeks a general plan amendment, a zone or height district change shall be approved by the City Council if such approval would result in changes of existing zoning to permit more intense land use, or an increase in floor area ratio, density, or height, or a net loss of land zoned open space, agricultural, or industrial. And do people have a pretty good sense of what the general plan is? Could Mike, can you give us like a 1-sentence definition of the general plan for us, please? Okay, maybe 1 sentence is not fair. All right, maybe that's not fair.
5 seconds or less.
Oh,
Or less.
Yeah, take your challenge. Let's see what happens.
I mean, the general plan is the larger framework